I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr. from CoinGeek.com. I am CoinGeek's chief Bitcoin historian. I'm also here representing Gorilla Pool. I'm a longtime Bitcoiner. I've been a Bitcoiner for about 10 years now. I've been in mining, development, consulting, infrastructure. I still run a mining pool, but I'm also in the journalist side. I've been sort of an influencer. So I've just kind of paid attention for a long time, and I tell the stories that people are scared to tell now. And I really tell the stories that people wish I wouldn't tell. And so I get a lot of people, that's not how that happened, and I'm good with the evidence. So about two and a half years ago, I started to use that title of Bitcoin historian, and it's worked out pretty well. Big finance actually jumped into Bitcoin a lot earlier than people realize. So in 2014, New York Life Insurance, CME Ventures, MasterCard, AXA Insurance Group, and a number of others formed an incubator because they wanted to steer the path of Bitcoin's development. It's all public information. These are public companies. They have to disclose where their money goes. But if you look at their board of directors and advisors, it's people from Bain Capital, or they have people from the World Bank on their advisory board. They have Larry Summers, who worked in the Clinton White House and was I think he was the president of Harvard University for a while. So these are like elite of the elite, jumping in and deeply influencing Bitcoin before most people were paying attention to it. And that really burns a lot of people that act like, we're super decentralized, there's no leader, there's no king. But if you look at the roadmap that those people established now 7 or 8 years ago, that's the path that BTC took. If you look at the way that this has affected Bitcoin over time, you see that these portfolio companies, Blockstream, Lightning Labs, Coinbase, Kraken, BitGo, Fireblocks, all of these big custodians, big finance, payments not on chain, but payments in other aspects of the portfolio companies. It has turned into a consolidation of power that looks like innovation. It looks like that there are lots of companies doing things, but they're really just parts of the same portfolio. And so it gives this illusion of decentralization. And they obviously love to play on the decentralization meme, but ultimately everything filters back to the portfolio. I think something like UST, the Luna stablecoin, shows that there's no perfect way to just create an algorithm that solves all of our problems either. That's another thing. We have a lot of technocrats in the blockchain economy that think if we just make the perfect software, the perfect protocol, it's going to solve all of our problems. But in reality, what took down UST was somebody that was just able to game the algorithm. They had a lot of money too, but it's money plus guile, and you can break anything down. So I think we need to be really vigilant as a people. Cybersecurity on the blockchain is a crucial cornerstone of what blockchain is even capable of. People talk about Bitcoin being secure, but they don't really understand why. And it is both a technical and a human innovation. It is economic incentives that secure that system. And it's the same in cybersecurity. The overwhelming majority of cybersecurity attacks start with information gathering and social engineering. So you get people that pretend to be other things. They spin up stock accounts. They'll create fake profiles on LinkedIn. They will pretend to be your company's ideal customer and then say, hey, I would love to do $100 million of business with you over the next year. Can I start to get some information about your company and who's who, what do you do? I'm doing my due diligence on your company. And so this is information gathering. This is very typical. And so blockchain allows those sorts of things, that sort of centralized checkpoints and various things inside of a network to stay monitored and then offloaded into a place that can't be tampered with, so that notes can basically be shared back and forth. But it also uses incentive systems in the security of the blockchain itself to create better behavior among just people and companies. And it's more training. Training is really what's needed. So people try to sell a technical solution because there's a lot of money there, but you're only as secure as your weakest person in your organization. It's not necessarily about your network endpoints, and the tech is actually pretty secure. So Gorilla Pool started as, I've always been sort of a Bitcoin theorist, and I had a few people saying, that's not how that works. It's not really how that would work in real life. And I was so confident that it would that I decided to start a mining pool with a few of my friends, and we test out the fringe stuff that people don't do in Bitcoin anymore. So we mine specifically on BSV and exclusively on BSV, but we run specialized scripts, we run all kinds of non-standard scripts, we run really crazy tokens and smart contracts, and even though we're only about 2 or 3% of the hash power on BSV, we actually hold the world record for the largest block by total data. We have mined the largest block by total number of transactions. So we have blocks that have over 2.5 million transactions in them inside of a 10-minute period. And then blocks that are 4 gigabytes of complex data, millions of transactions, lots of complicated tokens. And these are things that people said, like, Bitcoin cannot do this. And it just bugged me so much that I decided to put my own money and my own time, my own sweat into showing that we can.
Hi, my name is Jack Pitts. I'm with Structured Linguistics, and our main product, and you would know us by SLictionary, which is an online dictionary. Yes, SLictionary is a revolutionary dictionary that is communal, meaning experts in words actually define the words, and they get paid for it. So when you define a word in SLictionary, when someone comes in to look up the words, they pay you, the writer of the definition, a fraction of a penny every time it comes through. The reason this is important is, for instance, in Congress, they were reviewing the Supreme Court justice, and they asked her what the definition of woman was. And she said something like, "I'm not qualified to define it." And they looked at her like, "Well, you're a woman, right?" And that controversy right there points out the flaw in things like Merriam-Webster and Wikipedia, which is, it can be one view. And what we give you is kind of a swipe left, swipe right economy, where you get maybe the view that a woman is biologically this is one definition. If you don't like that, then you might get a different definition, which is the definition of a woman might be some other esoteric thing. And it's not me that decides what the best definition is, it's the public. Because we add Bitcoin into that, the payments and the economics actually are the decider of how the language works. And this might sound like, well, why would we decide things with money? But it turns out in society, the English language actually travels through time and changes, meanings change, and this economic system is actually how the real world works. And so it's actually the people that decide the language, not some professor in Cambridge, Massachusetts, who sits there and says, well, what do I know about Bitcoin? Probably not much. So who would you rather have define the word Bitcoin? Some English PhD or Satoshi Nakamoto himself? So if Satoshi Nakamoto defines the word Bitcoin, he's actually not only going to get paid, but we're going to tokenize the definition. And if his definition is making, say, $1,000 a year, that could be valued like a security. So he can actually sell it on the open marketplace, or he can, when he dies, transfer it to his children, and his children will get the cash flow. Yeah, so our big release for this conference was we introduced our first second language after English. And we chose Modern Standard Arabic, mainly because Arabic is basically the first real language with alphanumeric characters, so it's very much historical precedent. But also it's extremely challenging because Arabic is one of the hardest languages. It's right to left, the characters are very difficult, and so it was a bit of a challenge. And the nice thing is, I talked to Dr. Muhammad of the local university here, and his wife is an English professor. He's a professor of software and is teaching Bitcoin in the university, and he couldn't be more excited. So I think I'll be back with the university to talk to the kids, and the kids can compete in these things called word bounties, where the teacher can put up, say, $10 and have all the kids compete to define words in the Arabic dictionary. And And that's just a lot of fun because, who wants to do homework where you don't make a little bit of money?
Michał Scislowski, CEO of Soundoshi. Soundoshi aims to democratize the music industry by introducing the next iteration of music carriers, which are NFTs, and by enabling the direct paid streaming infrastructure to all artists in the world. So, of course, it's a bit different than Spotify, because on Spotify we have subscription model which we simply does not agree with, and we think it's unfair for most of the artists. So we are offering the top-up system. So basically, for the same amount like on Spotify, you are topping up your account, and then just you're spending this money by listening to the music. So each stream costs you 1-2 cents. And this way we can offer like the perfectly fair system to all of the artists, because all of them are being reimbursed the same way for their music. We also want to reinvigorate the album sales market, because it's got pretty much killed by streaming last years, and we are gonna do it by offering the new music carrier that is tailored to the needs of the 21st century. It's portable, it's transferable, and it's digital. To enable what we are doing, we were in need of two things. Yeah? The first one were microtransactions. So to offer the first streaming, you need to have sub-cent transaction or 1 cent transactions, which are sufficient only right now on the BSV blockchain. And the second thing that we were really caring for was native data storage on chain. So basically to have the real music carrier that is independent from Soundoshi as a company, and is like truly enabled by our customers. We need to have immutable data storage that is disconnected from our servers, and that's exactly what BSV offers us. So we are storing all of these files on the distributed Bitcoin network, and our NFTs act as an access keys to these files that are being stored on Bitcoin. I think the main challenge for adoption is to actually educate people that it benefits them as well. Because in the macro picture for average users, this system is simply cheaper. The top-ups have many benefits over subscriptions, because if you are in a period of time when you are listening not as much music, then it's gonna be saved for later. And I think that the biggest challenge will be changing the people's perception to make them want to own things and music again. Because the last 8 years even 12 years were completely dominated by streaming services, and everyone got so comfortable with it that people barely understand that they are at risk of losing all of their music and basically huge amount of money they've paid in the recent years if Spotify or any other streaming service will go out of the business. Music is the form of cultural expression, and we have around 2 billion people right now excluded from the opportunity to actually promote their culture, promote their own music. So that's what we are carrying the most probably, and we want to strongly go to Africa, South America, Middle East, to actually enable these people to also participate and maybe expose our Western culture as well to their music and their cultural approach.
Phil Runyan, co-founder and CEO of NiftyCo. NiftyCo is a Web3 incubator, if you will. We bring industry knowledge, we bring subject matter expertise to the table to be able to put these things actually into action so that they become real-world products that the world can use. As part of the creator platform, what we do is that through creating NFTs directly on our minting platform, you're able to mint them directly to your wallet. And from there, you can pick and choose which platforms you want to be able to sell on, or you even have the option to just do a private sale, which means that you're no longer chained to these different marketplaces. You have the freedom and availability to do as you please. the existing state of non-fungible tokens, they're all very single serving. I get an image, I get a video, I get an audio file. We actually allow you to create what's called a portfolio NFT, which allows you to stack multiple file types into a single NFT, meaning that new artist that's coming out, a new musician, they can put in their album art, they can put in the single, they could add a video, which allows the user to be able to see what their trajectory was in the studio, right? To get more of an intimate understanding of how the art was actually created. And it's our belief that by creating this bridge of intimacy from, yes, great song, but how did you actually get there? And from that, you should be able to drive more value from the NFTs. BSV is a blockchain that we've been building on actively for the last 3 years. It was because of not being able to find a proper solution between scalability, cost effectiveness, and things that were just actually easy to build on. You know, there's a lot of blockchains out there that are very horribly documented, and you spend a lot of time in trial and error trying to get things to actually work. What we found is that by building on BSV, we could take standard, normal web technologies and apply them at scale to be able to deploy product very quickly. Our motivation for NiftyCo and why we exist, our ethos really is about democratization. There's this crazy nascent world of Web3 that people keep hearing about. There's a lot of buzzword bingo out there, right? But it's really all crypto toys for crypto boys, and I do mean that. There's a shit ton of dudes in this space. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying to bring access to everybody. And we feel that if we build tools that are amenable to the standard, average web user, then we can also create, a much more larger audience. If you are going to have something that's representative of, a value, like it has to be usable, right? You have to be able to use it day in and day out. So as an example with BSV, and also we work with other blockchains. We're not BSV agnostic here. We look at the tokens and these underlying assets as being things that are give us access to it, right? So we're able to utilize their tools and services by purchasing these. The idea that I'm going to buy something and hold on to it for an extended period of time is ridiculous. I mean, they're all speculative, it's all gambling. I love to gamble. I play blackjack like a madman. That's my gambling. Cryptocurrencies like Luna is another example, no thank you.
I'm Somi Arian. I'm a tech philosopher and the founder of InPeak. We started out with a focus on women and bringing in more women into the Web3 space. But then we realized that actually we needed to expand because actually as women came into the space, first of all, when we had female leaders, they were needing to be put in front of a larger audience, in front of the wider community. And at the same time, women needed to be able to network with other people as well, right? So that's why we changed to InPeak and in for in the know, in this together, inspire and inclusive. So before I started FemPeak, which is now InPeak, I ran a think tank for women in business and technology. And through that think tank, we did a lot of research to understand why women were being left behind in a lot of emerging technologies, but also even in general finance and not getting to the top tiers. So we looked at why this was the case. We ran a lot of big conferences and sessions and a lot of surveys. And we found out that it comes down to 6 reasons. And that is a shortfall in confidence, tech skills, financial literacy, entrepreneurship skills, women's health issues, and family and relationship support. So a combination of these 6 things. Every time you look at a woman that starts in a field but doesn't get to the top tiers, you find out that it comes down to a combination of some of these reasons. So we need a multidisciplinary approach to bringing more women into these fields and also helping them succeed. And that is a combination of changing culture, changing the social stance towards family, for example. A lot of times when women have to take time off work, we see it as a women's issue, but it's actually a family issue. It's not a women's issue alone. We have to ask ourselves the question of, do we really want to change that? And if we do, we have to understand that it's changing the social fabric of society. We are changing as humans, and one of the things that I discuss as a tech philosopher is that we're no longer Homo sapiens in many ways. We are becoming something new that I don't even have a name for, but we are merging with technology, and that is changing the fabric of society. Right now, the most interesting thing for me is NFTs. I think NFTs are very empowering. One of the things that I like about them is that it's fractionalizing social communities. In many ways, like for example, when you think about something like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of these big corporations, they essentially own all of the audience. Whereas with NFTs, you have smaller communities and people buy into that community, they become a fan of that community, and then you have a closed environment and there's no algorithm dictating what you can and cannot see. I think the main reason why I'm interested in getting more women into technology, part of it is because I want to see women empowered, but I would say that as a tech philosopher, my interest is more in technology first, okay? And I want to make sure, because this technology is changing humanity as a whole, I want to make sure the technology that we are building has a little bit of both men and women in it. Because right now, that entire technology is being built by, a male mind, right? Like very much one side of the brain. So I think that's very dangerous. I'm really focusing on the individual. I want the individuals to become empowered and to think for themselves and think, become active participants and not passive observers of the technologies that are shaping our future. I think our technology is very Apollonian. We need a little bit of Dionysian, and women, I think they will bring that.
I'm Latif Ladid, fellow researcher at the University of Luxembourg, and my voluntary work is founder and president of the IPv6 Forum, as well as founding chair of the IEEE 5G Internet Initiative, as well as co-chair of the IEEE Blockchain Initiative. So basically, currently we're running with the current Internet protocol called IPv4, which stands for Internet Protocol version 4, and it has only 2 to the power of 32 addresses, which is 4.3 billion IP addresses, and we have consumed all of them back in 2011. So we have been working on the new Internet protocol called version 6, which will replace the current one, and this has happened already back in 1998, December 98, when that protocol has been released. And this one has something like 340 trillion addresses, which can basically last for the next 58 years. And this is fundamental to move from a research internet, which is still a research internet, to a production internet, so that we have basically that each person will have multiple IP addresses, if not millions, and he can do with them whatever he wants, and to restore basically the end-to-end model, similar to the phone system, so you can call each other, and you'll be able to do that directly without going through somebody else like Skype and so on and so forth. So you'll have direct connectivity between everyone and everything. No, basically this is just, IPv4 is a beauty protocol, so we have done just a beauty surgery to it. So we have increased the address space and we have added many other features. But all of the applications that you have mentioned, they are agnostic of what's happening in the internet. So nothing is going to change in that respect. In terms of security, the internet is not very solid. So I would say that the security people have focused on the industry and the enterprise, but not that much on the end user. So this most probably will give the end user the new benefits of getting end-to-end security and also end-to-end blockchain. Yes, I happen to be a researcher at the European Commission, and I have a blockchain project. So I wanted to see, who is the guy that has been working on blockchain and IPv6. So it's obviously, just Google it, and the first one that came up was a couple of papers from Greg Wright. So I dropped him an email, and I was surprised that he replied within 2 hours. And since then, we are rocking this thing quite well. And it just happens that let's say IPv6 and blockchain meet each other. They are like roommates, made for each other. Because IPv6 enables the end-to-end, and this is what needs to be done also on blockchain, because you have to know who is with you. So this peering of people and devices and so on is fundamental. So we are trying to get IPv6 to be placed in every place in order to make sure at least the layer 3, which is the communication thing, is happening in every place. At least to make sure that the internet keeps its end-to-end model, which is very important for innovation.